April 30th, 1945. Berlin is burning. Soviet artillery pounds the shattered ruins of the Third Reich's capital into dust. Deep beneath the Reich Chancellery Garden, in a concrete bunker 50 feet underground, a wedding ceremony is about to take place. The bride is 33 years old. The groom is 56. They have been together for 16 years, but the world barely knows she exists. In less than 40 hours, they will both be dead. Her name is Eva Braun. His name is Adolf Hitler. How does a young woman from Munich, a photographer's assistant who loved dancing, American movies, and fashion, become the secret mistress of history's most notorious dictator? How does she remain loyal to him through years of neglect, humiliation, and isolation? And why, in the final hours of the Third Reich, does she choose to die beside him rather than escape to freedom? This is not a love story. This is a story of obsession, delusion, and a woman who disappeared into the shadow of a monster, only to emerge at the very end, in the darkest moment of the 20th century, to claim a wedding ring and a cyanide capsule. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the beginning. Munich, October 1929. Eva Anna Paula Braun is 17 years old. She works as an assistant and model for Heinrich Hoffmann, Adolf Hitler's personal photographer. She's pretty, athletic, and outgoing, a typical young woman of the Weimar Republic, drawn to the glamour of photography studios and excitement of the city. Hitler is 40. He's recently been released from Landsberg prison after his failed beer hall putsch. He's rebuilding the Nazi Party, and Hoffman Studio is his headquarters for propaganda and image-making. Hitler is already a public figure, charismatic, intense, obsessed with power. But he's also awkward around women, sexually repressed, and haunted by the recent suicide of his niece, Jelly Roble, with whom he had an intensely possessive and possibly incestuous relationship. Eva meets him on an ordinary afternoon. Hoffman introduces them. Hitler is polite, distant. He buys her a bouquet of flowers. She's flattered, impressed even, but not swept off her feet. Not yet, but Hitler notices her. Over the following months, he begins to visit the studio more often. He invites her to the opera. He takes her on chaperone drives in his Mercedes. He's careful, controlled, never crossing a line in public. Eva, young and naive, is drawn in by his attention. He's famous, powerful. He makes her feel special. By 1930, they're involved, but it's not a normal relationship. Hitler insists on absolute secrecy. Eva is never to be seen with him in public. She cannot tell her family. She cannot appear in photographs with him. She is hidden, kept controlled. When he visits her, it's always in private, always on his terms. She waits. She waits constantly. Her life becomes a prison of waiting. The 1930s. Hitler rises to power. In 1933, he becomes Chancellor of Germany. In 1934, he consolidates total control. The Nazi regime transforms Germany into a totalitarian state. The world watches in horror as Jews are stripped of rights, political opponents are murdered, and the machinery of the Holocaust begins to turn. Eva Braun is nowhere to be seen. She lives in a small apartment in Munich, paid for by Hitler. She's given an allowance, a car, and access to Hoffman's studio. But she has no real purpose. She's not his wife. She's not even publicly acknowledged as his companion. She's a ghost. Hitler's propaganda machine presents him as a celibate leader, married only to Germany, devoted only to the Volk. Joseph Goebbels, Albert Speer, and the inner circle all know about Eva, but they dismiss her as irrelevant. She's not political. She's not intellectual. She's just there, kept in the background, a private indulgence for a man who publicly claims to have no private life. Eva spends her days shopping, sunbathing, watching movies, and taking photographs. She's obsessed with Hollywood, especially American actresses. She bleaches her hair. She wears makeup. She tries to look glamorous, modern, desirable, but she's desperately lonely. Hitler visits her occasionally, maybe once or twice a month. When he does, he talks endlessly about politics, military strategy, architecture. He never asks about her. He never engages with her emotionally. She's an accessory, a decoration, and she knows it. In 1932, she attempts suicide for the first time. She shoots herself in the chest with her father's pistol. She survives. Hitler is shaken, but not enough to change. He gives her jewelry, promises, reassurances, but nothing changes. In 1935, she tries again. She takes an overdose of sleeping pills. Again, she survives. Again, Hitler reacts with temporary concern, and then returns to business as usual. Eva Braun is trapped. She has no career, no independence, no identity outside of her relationship with a man who barely acknowledges her existence. But she doesn't leave. She stays. She waits. She convinces herself that he loves her, that one day, when the war is won, when Germany is triumphant, he will marry her. He will make her his wife. She clings to that fantasy. By the late 1930s, Eva has been moved to the Berghof, Hitler's mountain retreat in the Bavarian Alps. It's a gilded cage. She's given her own rooms, her own staff. She's allowed to host small gatherings with Hitler's secretaries and adjutants. She swims, hikes, watches films in Hitler's private cinema. She takes home movies with her 16mm camera, carefully editing out any footage that might reveal her relationship with the Führer. To the outside world, she doesn't exist. But inside the inner circle, she's a fixture, tolerated but never respected. Goebbels finds her frivolous. Speer finds her irrelevant. Hermann Göring ignores her. She has no influence, no voice. When Hitler discusses military strategy or policy, she's sent away. She's decoration. And yet, she's fiercely loyal. As the war begins, first with Poland in 1939, then the invasion of France, then the catastrophic invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, Eva never questions Hitler's decisions. She never expresses doubt. She reads no newspapers. She listens to no dissent. She lives in a bubble of denial, surrounded by luxury while millions die. She doesn't see the concentration camps. She doesn't see the bombed cities. She doesn't see the children starving in the ghettos or the mass graves on the Eastern Front. She sees only Hitler, tired, aging, increasingly paranoid, and she convinces herself that she's helping him by being there, by waiting, by loving him. But Hitler doesn't love her. He's incapable of it. He's obsessed with power, legacy, and his own twisted vision of Germany's destiny. Eva is useful to him. She provides comfort, stability, and a sense of normalcy in a life consumed by war. But she's replaceable, forgettable. She knows this deep down, but she can't admit it. By 1943, the war is turning. Stalingrad has fallen. The Allies have landed in Italy. The Luftwaffe is losing skies. The German army is retreating on every front. Hitler becomes more erratic, more furious, more detached from reality. He rages at his generals. He orders impossible offensives. He blames everyone but himself. Eva continues to wait. January 1945. Berlin is being bombed day and night. The Soviet Red Army is closing in from the east. The Americans and British are advancing from the west. The Third Reich is collapsing. Hitler moves into the Führerbunker beneath the Reich Chancellery, a maze of concrete rooms, ventilation ducts, and narrow corridors. It's damp, cramped, and claustrophobic. The air smells of sweat, diesel, and fear. Eva is not supposed to be there. Hitler has sent her away, back to Munich, to safety, but she refuses. In early April, she defies his orders and travels to Berlin. She arrives at the bunker on April 15, 1945. It's a shocking decision. The entire Nazi leadership is fleeing. Göring is negotiating with the Allies. Himmler is making secret peace offers. Speer is sabotaging Hitler's scorched earth orders. Everyone who can escape is escaping. But Eva Braun walks into the bunker. She tells Hitler she's come to stay with him. To the end. He's furious at first, then resigned. He knows what this means. She knows what this means. The bunker is a tomb. The walls shake with artillery fire. The lights flicker. The ventilation system barely works. The staff is skeletal. Secretaries, adjutants, guards, and a few fanatical SS officers. Everyone is exhausted, terrified, and waiting for the end. Eva tries to maintain normalcy. She dresses carefully. She wears makeup. She plays hostess at small dinners in the bunker's conference room. She drinks champagne and dances to gramophone records while Soviet shells explode overhead. She's performing, playing the role of the loyal companion, the devoted lover. Even as the world disintegrates around her, Hitler is unraveling. He shakes uncontrollably. His left hand tremors. He hunches over maps, screaming orders at phantom armies that no longer exist. He rants about betrayal, about the weakness of the German people, about the Jews and the Bolsheviks. He refuses to leave Berlin. He refuses to surrender. He's decided to die. And Eva has decided to die with him. On April 28th, Soviet forces are only blocks away. The bunker is surrounded. There's no escape. Hitler summons a city official, Walter Wagner, to perform a civil wedding ceremony. At midnight, in a small map room, Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun are married. She wears a black silk dress. He wears his military uniform. The ceremony lasts 10 minutes. Eva signs a marriage certificate Eva B, and then crosses it out, writing Eva Hitler née Braun. For 16 years, she waited for this moment. She has less than 40 hours left to live. April 29th, 1945. The bunker is in chaos. News arrives that Mussolini has been executed by Italian partisans and his body hung upside down in a Milan square. Hitler is horrified. He orders that his body and Eva's must be burned after their deaths. No public spectacle, no desecration. Eva writes letters. She writes to her best friend, Herta Schneider. She writes to her sister, Gretel. She's calm, almost serene. She gives away her jewelry, her watch, her rings, her bracelets. She tells the secretaries, "Give my love to Bavaria." Hitler dictates his political testament. He blames the Jews for the war. He expels Göring and Himmler from the Nazi Party. He appoints Admiral Karl Donitz as a successor. He justifies everything: the war, the Holocaust, the destruction of Germany. He takes no responsibility. He makes no mention of Eva in the document. Even now, she's invisible. April 30th, 1945. The final day. Soviet forces are half a mile away. Machine gun fire echoes through the streets above. The bunker staff is preparing to flee. Hitler meets with his remaining officers. He says goodbye to his secretaries. He shakes hands with Goebbels, who has decided to stay and die with his family. In the early afternoon, Hitler and Eva retreat to his private sitting room. The door closes. Outside, the guards wait. The secretaries wait. Everyone knows what's coming. Inside the room, Eva bites down on a cyanide capsule. Hitler shoots himself in the right temple with his Walther pistol. It's over. Their bodies are carried up the bunker stairs, into the garden. Soviet shells are falling. The sky is black with smoke. SS guards pour gasoline over the corpses and set them on fire. The flames rise. The bodies burn. Within hours, Soviet troops will overrun the area, and the remains will be buried, exhumed, and hidden for decades. Eva Braun Hitler, married for less than 2 days, is gone. So who was Eva Braun? Was she a victim? A collaborator? A fool? She was not a Nazi ideologue. She never joined the party. She attended no rallies. She expressed no political opinions. She seemed to have no understanding or no interest in the machinery of genocide and war that surrounded her. She lived in a bubble of willful ignorance, focused entirely on Hitler and her own desperate need for his approval. But ignorance is not innocence. She chose to stay. She chose to return to the bunker. She chose to die beside a man responsible for the deaths of tens of millions of people. She was not forced. She was not coerced. She walked into that tomb willingly. Some historians argue she was a victim of manipulation, a young woman groomed and controlled by a narcissistic dictator. Others argue she was complicit, that her silence, her loyalty, and her refusal to leave made her an accessory to his crimes. The truth is probably both. Eva Braun was a woman who disappeared into the shadow of a monster. She erased herself, her identity, her autonomy, her future, in pursuit of a fantasy that never existed. Hitler never loved her. He loved power. He loved Germany, or his twisted vision of it. He loved his own myth. Eva was a footnote, a ghost, a name on a marriage certificate that burned with her body in a shell-torn garden. But her story endures, not because she was important, but because she asked us an uncomfortable question. How does someone choose to love a man who destroys the world? And what does it say about the nature of obsession, denial, and the desperate human need to be seen, even if it means standing beside evil? On April 30th, 1945, in the ruins of Berlin, Eva Braun finally got what she wanted. She became Eva Hitler. She was acknowledged. She was married. And then she died. Her life was a tragedy, but it was not a love story. It was a cautionary tale about the danger of losing yourself in someone else, about the cost of willful blindness, and about the hollow, terrible price of loyalty to a man who could never love anyone but himself. The bunker is gone now. The Reich Chancellery was demolished. The site is a parking lot. Eva Braun's films, letters, and photographs remain in archives. Strange, haunting glimpses of a woman who lived in the eye of history's greatest storm and saw nothing but the man at its center. She was 33 years old when she died. She had been waiting for him for 16 years. In the end, she got exactly 40 hours as his wife. And then, like everything else in the Third Reich, she turned to ash and smoke and was forgotten